Good afternoon, poppers and campers. Hope you're all having a great week. Today's video, should I buy it, should I run? I've been noticing a lot of questions with people out there looking to get into pop-up camping, and they're wanting to know what kind of things are they needing to look for. You know, what are the deal breakers? What's going to be a lot of work for them to have to do if they buy that particular camper? Or even how to look at a camper. The first time you ever looked at one, I'm sure most of us were in the same boat. You're kind of nervous because you really didn't know what you were looking for, and sometimes even the best of us got caught in positions where we ended up having to do a lot of repairs once we got it home. So hopefully after today's video, some of those newcomers will be able to take a look at a camper and feel a little bit more comfortable about what they're looking for and how to look at it. Want to make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below along with that bell so that you'll be notified of all my upcoming videos, and make sure that you give me a thumbs up on the like button before we get out of here. On that note, let's go down to the camper and take a look at it. Alright, now that we're down here at the camper, let's start taking a quick look and try to make this as painless as I can without making you watch a 10-15 minute video. First thing you're typically going to notice when you walk up is the canvas. What shape is it in? Is the canvas thinning out? Has it got big holes in it? Or the threads coming out? If you got small sections of threads that's come loose, typically something that you, either yourself or you can get somebody to help you with that, you can fix that up. If you've got all the seams that are coming loose or big holes in it or lots of holes, canvas on these campers usually run somewhere between $900 and about $1,500 depending on what the model, how many slide outs you got, all that good stuff. So that's one of the first things that you're going to want to look at to let you know if you want to buy it or run. The lift system. Before you pay money for that camper, make sure that you witness this camper going up and down with the top. You're wanting to watch for jumping, freezing, hanging as it's coming down or up. Where is it getting in a bind? Is one section of the roof coming down and one is not? Those are things that let you know that something's going on with this roof system, and it can be a little overwhelming if you've got to get in there and replace all the cables. You can find people that can do it. They usually are a little bit on the expensive side just because it's a camper. The roof. Another big idea here is to check the boards on the side plates. You want to reach up and physically feel inside on all the parts of this board, especially in the corners where the seal typically goes bad. The caulking wears out, it starts leaking. If you've got a small section, you can typically replace that without too much hassle. But if you start looking into big sections of this roof that's getting dry rotted and wet, you're looking at starting to replace the roof. With that, that's a lot of money. It's either a lot of money or a lot of time and hassle. We've got the canvas, we've got the lift system, and we've got the top. If those things aren't in good conditions, to me, I will typically run away from that one. Seam corners, those come right in behind that with me. You want to feel push on every seam. Make sure there's no water damage in behind it. They need to be good and solid. Check them on the fronts, along the bottoms, backs. Every seam on this thing, push, poke, prod. Small things. Plywood underneath the bunk ends. Now, if they're dry rotted or they're wearing out, they're cracking, they're breaking, that's typically not a big thing to fix. Take a couple of rivets loose, some screws, pull it out, put the new piece in there. The other big thing, and I'm about to skip right over, make sure that you wear dirty clothes because you want to crawl up underneath this camper. Don't go looking in your Sunday best because you want to crawl up underneath this camper. Now, as you're underneath it, you're wanting to push, broke, and prod. You're going to get tired of hearing that, but that's what you got to do. Check for the water damage. Check for soft spots, floor rot. It's an absolute nightmare to get in here and replace these flooring systems. If you've got a small spot, you can a lot of times typically get in there and cut that small section out and replace it, and you'll be okay once you've found the leak and resealed it. If it's a large section, you're looking at pulling the cabinets out and everything that's mounted into that camper out to then pull that floor up, put the new flooring back in there. That's a lot of work. That's also a run for me. Stabilizers. These are another little one. If you notice that your stabilizer, it's a little one that can be a big one. If you notice your stabilizers are bent, warped, try to take a good look at the camper because they might have been using those stabilizers to level. Stabilizers are just that. That's why they're called it, stabilizers. They're there to take the rock out of the camper. They're not there to level from side to side or front to back, because when you take that metal and you bend it from the ends, it's going to bend a lot easier than if you lifted it from the middle section where the tires are. And it can, and I repeat can, it doesn't mean it's going to have to, warp the frame and cause you problems like your door not wanting to close properly, causing you to get rain, or the door just not staying shut. If the stabilizers, they got hit from some road debris, something like that, not a big deal. Typically you can just take about 3 bolts loose, slap some new ones up underneath it. Probably about 30 minutes worth of work for all 4, and you'd be good to go. Take a look at your pigtails underneath the front. Make sure that they're not all frayed up, chewed up. Not a deal breaker, but it gives you an idea that you need to take care of that when you get home. Check your propane tank before you ever go anywhere. A lot of times you'll get a camper and they filled it, but they forgot to put the screw back in to hold that band to keep the propane tank in place. So as you're traveling home after buying this camper, and you hit a nice bump on a bridge and your propane tank goes bouncing down the highway at 45 miles an hour, you might be in a little bit of trouble. Those are the type of small things that you just want to look at to make sure that it's in good enough condition to get home. Just like the tires, good enough condition to get you home. Make sure they're not so dry rotted they're going to pop on the way home. If they're more than a few years old or they're severely dry rotted, you're going to replace them anyway. If you don't replace them and these things blow going down the highway at 55 miles an hour, they're going to take a heck of a lot of stuff with them. These are lightweight material campers. They're held together by staples and small screws. Those are no force for a tire that blows out going down the interstate. A lot of junk's going to come out missing on the other end. So let's go on the inside. Take a look at some of the things that we want to look at there. The first thing you typically notice is going to be the air conditioner unit. When you step in and you look at the air conditioner, look for some things like yellowing around the corners or black mold. Reach up and start doing the same thing we did outside. Poke, prod, probe, feel. Make sure there's no weak spots, no wet spots. If there's no wet spots, but it looks like you might have had some air conditioner leak there in the past from the yellowings on the corners, there's a few things that can cause that. We'll get into a lot of this a lot later, but like this one, dirty air filter. Coils need to be cleaned on the outside. The drain pan has a clog in it, or it's not tight enough, or the seal that is there needs to be replaced. As long as the roof around it is good and solid, you're probably going to be good to go on that. You're going to want to take and look at the inside canvas. Look for excessive mold or mildew here. Make sure that this don't have a leak, that the camper keeps getting wet even with it folded up, because no matter how dry you get it before you fold it up, if it's got a leak and the inside gets wet, you're going to ruin the canvas and the inside would floor rot. Now if you'll notice here, with the lights on, the galley is in the up position. There's a safety switch on these galleys that when you lift, the light goes off. When you let it down, the light comes back on. These campers come with the normal light bulbs in them, so if they're on, they get very hot. If you've not replaced them with LEDs, and that little switch down there on mine is what controls it, is stuck in the down position or is not functioning, and you drop that roof and pack up to go home, and those lights are staying on, you're going to have a burnt canvas. Then again, you're out the $900 to $1,500 to replace it. Take a look around your water tank. Do the fittings of the tank itself have a leak? Is the floor soft, wet around it? Take a look at the converter. Does it look like a good factory job, or does it look like somebody's been in there with a whole roll of duct tape or electrical tape and just massacred everything trying to fix something that they didn't know how to fix. If it does look like a mess, you can check your lights. If your lights are working, your vents are working, you still may be okay with getting it. And once you get it home, you can correct that wiring problem. Big ones. Canvas being shot, lift system not functioning properly, the roof has got wet spots, wood rot, or the floor has got wet spots or floor rot. Those are the big ones right there that you're either going to have to spend a lot of time or a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to fix. If you don't want to get involved in that, run from those campers. The little things, your pigtail's not quite right, stabilizers may be bent, or they may not be quite the ones that you like. Those can be changed out, replaced. Going back to the big list, your seals. Make sure all them seals are good and solid. Make sure everything's good and tight. Air conditioner, not necessarily a deal breaker as long as that sealing still feels like it's good and solid, both tops and bottom. If it's good and solid and you still got a little bit of water, that's usually an easy fix. So with that, I hope I gave you a little bit more information than you had before, and you'll be able to go out and have a little bit more comfort when you're looking at your next pop-up and trying to figure out, do I need to run from this thing or let's buy it? Hope everybody has a great week. Everybody needs to be out camping this weekend, and send me back some pictures. Before you leave, hit the subscribe button with the bell so you'll be notified, and give me a thumbs up on the way out.